everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today very excited to be kicking off a brand new GameFound preview series here on the channel, this time focusing on Dragon Eclipse, a prototype from Awaken Realms, which is landing on GameFound in the very near future. Now, if you want to find the campaign page and more information on it beyond these videos, I've got the link in the pinned comment, video description, as well as on top right-hand corner right now. Now, you'll have noticed on the channel recently, I did a prototype unboxing for Dragon Eclipse. If you haven't checked that out, definitely go back and check that out first before you come here, because that video is going to give you a great idea as to everything that was included as part of the prototype, which you may see most of it used here, but maybe not all of it. And remember, this is a prototype. It's not the entire experience. It's but a snippet of the experience. It includes scenario number 1 and scenario number 2 booklets in terms of the story. I've already gone ahead off camera and completed scenario number 1 all the way through. I'll talk about the high-level highlights of that book in a second and where we are right now as we enter gameplay in scenario book number 2. Now, just before we go over those, I want to mention 2 thriving solo communities that we'd love to see you in if you're not a part of it already, and that is the Rolling Solo Discord community, which has a number of different segmented areas to talk about different facets of the hobby, whether you're into painting, whether you're into crowdfunding games, retail releases, whatever it is that you're looking for a solo community, you're going to find it inside that Discord server. We'd love to have you there. And if you are not interested in Discord, we also have the Facebook group as well for Rolling Solo. We'd love to see you there. Other conversations happening in that space. Both of them represent different areas to talk about solo gaming in different ways and to consume that information in different ways. You might want to be a part of both or maybe just one, but either way, we'd love to see you in those spots. So without further ado, let's go through the highlights of what happened inside scenario number 1 and begin our journey inside Dragon Eclipse. So the story starts you off in Kierberg, and this is a place, a city that you love, and it talks about it here in the introduction. It mentions you're one of the few people responsible for making sure all of this works properly. There are engineers who supervise the steel and brass, but you're a tamer, and these people train and care for creatures that support the whole structure. While in town, as most typically do, we head to the tavern, and there we learn of a number of different things, including dragon guardians, which are mighty beasts of old who watch over the world. We also have the eclipse, which was a dreadful event from the past that left civilization in ruin. We learn further detail around the eclipse and what happened, and are then interrupted by a sudden tremor. During the commotion, as a tamer, we're told to choose one of the creatures we're going to start with. We can either choose an Emberling or an Iceling, and I ended up going with the second choice, which is an Iceling. After gaining the Iceling, the card here states, Icelings are rarely found outside the recluse of snowy mountaintops where they hone their ice control abilities. However, the few of them who yearn for adventure are one of the bravest and most outgoing creatures in the known world. So once I had this creature under my control, I was then thrusted into a battle against a frightened Windraiser. And you'll notice these are inside of a binder. In the final version, the binder will be larger, but this is going to serve as a log essentially for not only creatures you control and other creatures you tame in the future, and also just creatures you run into and encounter in the wild. Now, as I battled the frightened Windraiser, a number of things occurred to me as a ripple effect of taking this frightened Windraiser down. I had some damage landed on me, which is through red cubes. Of course, if you get too many of them, you can swap them out for purple cubes to represent higher amounts of damage. But I had some wounds against my creature, the Iceling, and I also had some cards go into my deck as a result of fighting this thing. It started to fatigue my creature over time, which puts a card inside of your deck, which then comes back out into the action row at a certain point in time, and essentially just gums up slots that would otherwise be areas for something positive. So after succeeding at the battle, it tells us to go to the adventure journal here, and script number 2 gives us a nice narrative. You can go ahead and pause the screen if you want to read that, get an understanding as to what's going on. Remember again, the tremor happened first, then the battle. So there was a tremor. That tremor has a major effect on this town here behind us, the city, and we're going to be talking about that in a second. But first, a couple things happened. I cleared the battle area. I gained a fatigue card. Yes, you can actually gain fatigue outside of a battle as well. So even if I got through a battle and my creature wasn't fatigued during the battle, you can still get one handed to you afterwards, and that's what happened to me. I had one in the battle, as I showed you moments ago, plus another one that was given to me when I resolved this. We gain a silver. That is a component that looks like this. Essentially, it's currency within the game, allows you to purchase things. So, for instance, you can use this to exchange at a market, for instance, to get something that's typically beneficial in almost all cases for you. So a good thing to have. You want to try to accumulate silver. And then we're going to open up map number 1, which is this right here. You'll remember that before the battle there was a tremor. Well, we're inside of a city, and a city doesn't really do too well with tremors, so we had things crumble, some things broke down, and as a tamer we were told to head out to the locals, have conversations, find out what we could help with, and also help ourselves after the battle was concluded. So at a high level, how this operates is very much like a choose-your-own-adventure situation. You have a number of script books here with numbers inside of it, and you can choose whichever one you want to interact with. You go to that particular script, and you follow it through to its conclusion. It might be just a one-and-done script. It might be a decision point where you have to go one way or another, or maybe there's multiple decisions to be made throughout that. Or there might even be checks, and checks are resolved using the item deck. You'll flip them over and play a push-your-luck game to try to land a specific number. There's items and secret cards that you can use potentially to cash in or to adjust and mitigate those draws. It's very cool and very quick, which I like. So in other words, it doesn't slow down the exploration and the movement through the narrative, but the checks are very, very interesting. Also, when you set up one of these maps at the very beginning, you're told to place a secret card in almost every case on the left-hand side here. So say, for instance, this number 2, which it wasn't, but we place it here on the left. We'd also be told to take a time marker and place it here. And as you go through the script book, as you pick different scripts to interact with, you might have to move the time marker down. And once the time marker actually lands on the card, and then you get to a portion in the script book that says this script ends, then after that you go ahead and flip this over, and it might tell you have more time in the city. It might tell you that you have no more time left in the city. Maybe it throws a positive at you or a negative at you. This is where things can change in a dynamic way. Now, on top of all of that, also as you're making decisions and checks and going through the different choices you have as part of the scripts when you go through this portion of gameplay on these maps, you also have these slots all over the place. It's going to tell you at times in the script book to place a specific A or B token in certain slots. That's going to provide alternatives to what was available in the past. So it is very dependent on where you go and interact with first and what you do there before you go to another location. Sometimes there's ripple effects across them. So if you get one item from one area and can bring it over to the other area and maybe give it to somebody who wants that particular secret card that you got as a result of resolving 3, and then you went over to 35 and they're looking for 3. If you have it, that means you're going to progress in a more positive way. So in terms of what you do first before something else, it really does matter. And these are just going to be used to track that progress across things. It's very easy to do. The script book will literally tell you when to place them, and then you just reference them from that point on. Now, the next thing that occurred inside of my journey in Adventure Journal number 1 was I ran into a Galomo, and I found out this going through some of the prompts in the scripts. As I went through town, I actually ended up getting some tracks that got me right on the trail of this thing. We went into a battle where I could choose to actually defeat it in battle, but this was the first tameable creature that I was actually able to try and tame, and I successfully tamed it, so I gained this as part of my party. Shortly after that, we wandered ourselves into a tunnel, and then the tunnel collapsed, and we were stuck inside of this map here where we were trying to interact with it in a number of different ways. I actually gained some secret cards and item cards, which had some benefits. I'll show you those in a moment in terms of what I currently have to date. And then I was able to actually reveal this area here to get out of this. Now, how does that happen? Well, there's certain secret cards that as you're going through scripts that you're interacting with will tell you to grab a secret card, let's say, for example, 3. And then you'll place that card and it will literally overlay on top of the map that you're inside of, and it will change the actual structure of the map that you're on. So it's not always static in terms of how this looks. Things can actually change as you interact with them. At this point, after I got out of the cave, this is my inventory in terms of what I have. I have some rope, I have some nuts, I have some berries, and I have some herbs. These all do different things. You'll see an X beside the card, basically meaning that if I discard that particular item, then I gain that benefit. Now, these cards up here are my item cards. I can never have more than 4. I currently have 4. If I gain an additional one, I have to discard another one, so worth keeping an eye on those. And also over here, we have a number of secret cards that you gain as a part of resolving scripts in a certain way, potentially, or even just purchasing something. So, for instance, here we have the lantern. This is something that, again, if you have a specific secret card, it might reference later on when you're doing a check that if you have the lantern, you can mitigate some of the cards that come off of the deck, or potentially some of the negative effects by having a lantern. So very thematically tied in. I also got local hero because I helped the local community. Your deed will be remembered. So I helped out the city that I was inside of, and I now have this. And then also in the cave that I was inside of, I got these 2 secret cards. At the tail end of scenario number 1, this is the narrative that I read as I came out of the cave I was trapped inside of. And that concludes scenario number 1 and brings us up to speed for scenario booklet number 2. The shadow in the sky heads toward Kjarberg. The fear in your heart begins to grow, but you try to ignore the biting feeling. If that thing really is a dragon, will it attack the city? Is it here because of some dire danger? The tremor, perhaps? You stop the intrusive thoughts and take a deep breath. You're exhausted. What if you've seen something else? What if it was a shadow of a bird flock cast over the cloud? No, you don't believe it. It must have been a dragon. The forest is completely quiet, as if unsure of what awaits. No birds sing, no animals sneak around, and no creatures let out their distinctive cries. Suddenly the trees bend under a powerful gale as it strikes the hill. Now, as you'll see here on this setup, the powerful gust throws you to your knees. The chaos, the noise, it all makes the surreal day even more dreamlike. You glance at Galomo, who guards your reptile companion with its arms. Their bond is already strong, although it is no more than a couple of hours old. It states here this is the last chance to change your choice of a starting companion. So I've already gone ahead and chosen the Iceling, but if I didn't like the Iceling from what I played inside Adventure Journal number 1, I could change it over to the Emberling if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm sticking with what I've got. I'm pretty happy. So what we're setting up here for is some deck construction. Now, again, in the final version of the game, you're going to have an actual storage tray. These will be behind different dividers. I've just laid the divider out and all the cards. You can actually see what's behind it much more easily. These are all neutral cards. And then down below, you're going to see elemental specific cards for the specific creature that you're controlling. Now we're going to focus on our advancement deck. We find the advancement cards, which are behind a divider inside the card tray. Very easy to find. We got a deck. We shuffle that advancement deck up. We're going to draw 7 cards, and we're going to take 1 less for each fatigue we have to a minimum of 4. Well, I already have a fatigue. I got this from prior playing in scenario number 1. So because of this, we're only drawing 6. At this point, we're allowed to go ahead and choose 3, and whichever 3 we choose, we place them in the unlocked cards area. So they're going to end up in our neutral card area up here. Now there's some awesome cards to choose between here, which makes this really tough. Now Hunch is not one I'm going to go after, so I know that won't be one of the ones I choose. We've got 5 more to choose between. I'm really liking the idea of Push, as that's more of a defensive situation to try to get one of the creatures further away from me, or maybe pushing them into something, whereas Grapple, you're bringing them towards you. That can also be really beneficial, but it's a little more offensive, and my creature, being the Iceling, is a little more on the defensive side, and from previous battles I fought, I think Push would be awesome. So we're going to go ahead and take Push as one of the ones we want. Now we have to decide on the others. So Grapple, I'm going to take out of the equation to make things a little easier. We got 3 left to choose between. Now this card here at the bottom, I don't think I can let it go. Energy Flow looks amazing. You can gain energy from all slots to the left of this card on top of the slot that the card's currently in. So for instance, as you can see here, you see some of the action slots, 1, 2, 2, and then actually off screen here 3. So if this card is far enough down the action slots, you're going to be able to collect energy across the left there, which is insane if it's far enough down the action slots. So I think Energy Flow is one that I want. I'm going to place that up in my neutral area as well. We've got 2 more to choose between, and oh, this is tough. Do I go for what would be an upgrade? An upgrade, these icons tell us that you place it underneath of your creature card, and it will stick out like so until you use another upgrade to change it. But basically, it will give you the ability as you go through battle once you've gone ahead and upgraded your creature. So that could be a really good one, being able to deal additional damage. Apart from attacks, you get an additional 3 on top of it, which would be huge. Or we could go the healing route if we want to stay alive for as long as possible. That actually might not be bad, as it's not a really high HP creature yet. So I made my decision. We're going with a Swift Recovery, Energy Flow, and Push, and also all fatigue cards at this point are discarded. So I only had 1, it's gone. Now we move into the very first deck construction. A deck is going to be comprised of 10 cards. You have to have the 3 specific cards for the creature, which have the keyword of their name in the top right-hand corner included in the deck, so the other 7 cards can be your choice across a number of neutral unlock cards. I've completed deck construction for my Iceling, so we got the 3 cards specific to the Iceling, plus 7 additional neutral cards. I'm using the 3 most recent advancement cards that I got for the Iceling. Now we go behind my party divider, which is this right here, and behind it was my Golemo, which is my creature I tamed inside of scenario number 1, and we've got the 7 basic cards here, neutral cards to place in the deck, plus the 3 specific ones that have to do with the creature. That comprises that creature deck quite quickly. With my creature decks all built, you'll see inside this card tray we have both of the creature decks in either slot. I've also got this wound marker here from the previous wounds I took on my Iceling. Now, as part of deck construction, there'll be times when you're able to open up booster packs. These are random booster packs that'll be part of the final version. This is a prototype booster pack, not opening up right now, but maybe during scenario number 2, it'll tell us to, and we'll be able to dig inside of this thing and see what's in there. It's also worth mentioning when building decks, there's elemental cards, which is another card type that I currently don't have as of right now. We've got creature cards, neutral cards, but elemental cards are cards we're going to find as we open up boosters throughout the gameplay. We're now told to go to script number 1. It states your creatures shift uneasily. They're on the verge of breaking into a run, not sure if they should follow their instincts or stay with you. Several wild Golemos crawl through the ruins, looking longingly into the distance where the shadow disappeared. Some of them head in that direction while others remain, probably still lured by the glowing crystals buried inside the ruins. You stand up, enveloped by the noise of the forest. You must return to the city and hope to get there before dawn. But before that, you should decide what to do about the Golemos, the reason you've come here in the first place. I can choose to leave them in peace, or I can startle them with the help of my own creature I've tamed. Your Golemo approaches its friends and shakes its hands frantically while uttering low grunts. The other Golemos look surprised and a little agitated, but they ultimately start walking in the direction where the enormous shadow has disappeared. We gain secret card 17, Interference, and go to script 2. The card states on it, your decisions will have consequences. There is no telling whether or not they'll be good or bad. Script number 2 tells us the trees dance wildly in the wind, their branches snap loudly and fall. You can hardly find the way amidst this mayhem, your only beacon being some faint lights far away. To make matters more complicated, every now and then a flock of creatures stampede through, and then the inevitable happens. Trying to give a wide berth to a pack of fire beasts, you leave your path and fall into a shadow marsh. Suddenly, you realize you are one step away from a nest of furples, if I'm saying that correctly. They are notorious for their fierceness in defending their territory. You spot one of them, a creature with a flat snout, squinting little eyes, and nasty-looking orange spikes topping its head. The book now tells us we're heading into combat. To set up for combat, we prepare the combat area by placing Arena Card 03 in play. And when we do this, it actually has setup instructions on it. It tells us to place a fallen tree, represented by these black tokens, in each space with an exclamation mark. The rules governing this are right on the card itself. It says you and the enemy can't move to a space with a fallen tree. When a fallen tree gains at least 1 wound, discard the fallen tree. You can treat a fallen tree as an opponent for purposes of any effects dealing wounds. So essentially, as you'd expect, fallen trees are taking up certain areas of the combat area, making things a little more narrow to work with. If we want to clear them out, we have to basically get a wound on those trees to take them down. And that will clear them out of the way, and then we'll have more space to move around. This is the first time I've actually had more of a restrictive space in terms of a battle. It's also worth mentioning down the bottom, it says at the end of combat, you flip this card and follow the instructions on the back. Basically, combat is going to end in a number of ways. One is you either meet or exceed the health value of the enemy you're going up against. That means you defeat it, or you happen to go through all of the checklist requirements to tame that creature, and you're able to accomplish that, or you lose all the health on your creature by it meeting or exceeding its damage or health level, and if you do that, that's also going to have you flip this. So 3 different ways that you can end off the combat. The next thing we're doing is we're told to go behind a specific divider, pull out specific cards, and place them in the enemy creature cards section. And you'll see the 2 cards it instructs to place here. The artwork matches up side by side, so you'll know exactly which one to put on the left side, which one to put on the right side. You'll see the AI of what is available for this enemy on the left-hand side of this creature. We have different varying attack cards that are going to come from its deck, which will tell us what it's going to be doing, and then it has a special ability which will trigger. For more information on how that operates in terms of the special ability and any extra information you need to know, you just simply flip this card over. Setup instructions are also included on these cards. It says here to place a special ability token in the second space. As you'll see across the top of the playmat here, we have a number of spaces, 1 through 5. In this case, we're placing a token to represent where the special ability is going to trigger, and it's going to be on the second space. The rules state always place a puddle token in the space closest to you. It can also be placed in the same space that you're in. There can only be one puddle in each space, and you and the enemy can freely move to a space with puddles. When you are instructed to place a puddle and all of them are on the arena, use the puddle that is furthest from you. The next step of setup is around the enemy cards. There's a bunch of them, but each of these scripts will tell you exactly which enemy cards to use to make up the deck. The journal tells us exactly which symbols we're looking for and how many. So we got 3 of these, 1 of these, and 1 of these. You'll see these symbols correlate to the AI of what the enemy or the creature will be doing. Shuffle all the cards together without looking. Whichever card ends up on top is going to give you advanced knowledge as to what the enemy will be doing on its activation. Also, this enemy deck goes in the enemy deck slot. The final thing I want to mention around the creature we're going up against is this card right here, which is one of the cards we were told to grab on the B side of the card. As you'll see, it'll say 26B in this example. Opposite side is 26A. On the B side, it has a little bit of narrative here around this creature. On the opposite side, and this gives you a step-by-step procedure you have to do in order from top to bottom in order to tame the creature. The first thing you need to do is tire it out. You need to have at least 15 wounds on the creature. Then you need to crack it with energy. You need to end your turn with at least 8 energy. And then after that, you need to show off. You need to deal at least 1 wound to this creature when all the fallen trees were already removed from the arena. Now I'm going to attempt to try and tame this creature, but I can't promise it's going to happen. We'll see how things pan out. On this prototype arena, you'll notice Roman numerals 1 and 2, and the enemy is going to start in position 2. And now we get to decide which creature we're bringing into the fray. I'm bringing the Iceling in position 1. The miniature for my creature is in the arena. Also got my creature card here, as well as special ability cards side by side. Artwork lines up. You'll also see iconography across the bottom of the card. We'll talk about that in a second. We have our deck here of 10 cards. We're going to draw 4 cards right off the hop here and put them into each of the slots. Just like that, we've drawn up our 4 cards. We're ready to start the battle. The 2 final things I want to note is I have 2 inventory items which I've gained as I progress through the adventure journal number 1 and into number 2. I have red berries here as well as some nuts. Both of these can be discarded during combat when I choose in order to either boost my attack, which is great, or I can actually use it when an enemy attacks me to add some defense. Now on top of that, also want to make mention of the fact that my Iceling comes into this battle with 5 wounds already on it from a previous battle, which I was unable to heal between the battles. Now, wounds are typically counted with red cubes for a single wound, but a purple one means 5 wounds. So with my health currently at 16 total, I've already got 5, which means I have 11 left before things go south for me. The other things I have here in terms of stats, I have a defensive stat, but it's at 0 right now. I have my combat or attack stat, it's at 4, and then I have my movement at 2. Now, the creature I'm going up against has defense of 1, which is unfortunate. Better defense than I have off the hop by default. 20 health, yikes. It has 2 attack or combat, and then it has 2 movement. Now, battles start off with a player turn, so I get to go first. Now, the first thing I want to take a look at is my energy. As of right now, going into the fight, I don't have any. There'll be times you'll go into a fight with energy already on your creature. I don't currently have any, so generating some would be a positive. Now, on your turn, the first thing you can do, if you wish, is to go ahead and activate one of the cards in the row here. If you do, then you gain whatever energy is above it. And also, if there happens to be any additional energy mentioned on the card itself, you gain that as well. And then you go ahead and resolve the card. Once the card is resolved, you go ahead and push everything to the right and draw the next card out in the row. As you can see, the varying levels of energy that you get depend on which one you activate. So if I activate this one at the very bottom here, this is actually extremely powerful right now because energy flow says gain energy from all slots to the left of this card, which means I would gain not only the 3 above it for activating this card, but also be getting all of this energy as well. Not a bad first play. So choosing energy flow, as I mentioned, we're going to get 3 energy up here, and then we get all the energy from the left side of the equation on all slots based on the resolve of the card, which is awesome. A total 8 there, and then this card is going to go in the discard. So energy flow goes to the discard area on the far right-hand side. All these cards are going to slide down, and then we're going to go ahead and draw a card off the top of the deck to go into slot number 1. Now let's talk about bonus actions. Every creature is tied to an element, in my case, water element, and you'll see the bonus actions listed out, and it tells us 1 energy allows us to move, 1 energy allows us to discard a card and draw another card from the action slots, and then for 4 energy we can move 1, heal 1. Worth mentioning, you can do all of these if you can afford with the energy cost to do them. You can do these bonus actions before you actually choose and activate a card from the row or after. So you could do 2 of these bonus actions, then activate a card, and then do the last bonus action if you wish. It's up to you. You just have to have the energy to spend in order to pull it off. This allows for a lot of combinations. There is a constraint to those bonus actions, and that's the fact you cannot do the same bonus action twice in the same turn. So on your turn, when you're going ahead and activating a card or choosing to use bonus actions, you can do all the individual bonus actions. You just can't do the same one twice inside that turn. Now we'll talk about special abilities, something else that you can go ahead and activate. If you go ahead and spend 6 energy, in my case with the Iceling, you get Cold Drain, which allows you to attack. So you'd go ahead and take your attack value and minus it off the defense. That's how many wounds get through, and it says if you deal wounds, which are the red cubes, then you can heal 2. Well, seems like something I should focus on. So I've already chosen a slot to activate, so now we're looking at bonus actions or the special ability. I'm going to use a bonus action for 1 energy, as it states, to move my creature. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because you need to be adjacent to the creature you want to attack in order to pull off a regular attack. Now, if the attack mentions range, you can do it from range, but otherwise you need to be adjacent. Now I'm going to go ahead and spend 6 of my energy in order to pull off my special ability for Cold Drain. As I mentioned, we can attack. I'm going to go ahead and also use during combat an item. This is red berries. It says during combat, discard. When you attack, add 1 to your combat or your power. So down here, the 2 swords that are crossed says 4. We're going to get 5 out of the equation this time, and it's going to be -1 defense, so 4 getting through on the enemy. The item card that I use goes to the item discard pile. I've also placed the 4 wounds on the creature, and also we've healed thanks to my special ability because it did deal wounds. So I got to heal 2, so my purple, which represented 5 wounds on my creature, drops down to just 3. Just like that, my creature's turn is done. We move to the enemy creature here, and it's as simple as looking at the symbol on the top of the deck, and it tells us exactly what's going to happen. The first thing it'll try and do is rush. It uses its movement in order to get as close to and be adjacent to me as possible, my creature I should say, and it's already adjacent, so it doesn't need to rush. It would then rush again, so really this is going to help them if they're on the other side of the map from where I am and they're really trying to get to me quickly. They'd be able to rush for 2 and then rush for 2 again. That gets them quite a ways across the arena. Again, that won't happen because they're already adjacent. Next, it's going to attack, but it's going to ignore all shields. That's not good. By default, my Iceling, looking at its creature card, has no defense, but there are particular action slots which will have a card in it sometimes, and when you activate those, it goes to your discard every time you activate a slot. If it happens to be one that gives you a passive defensive bonus, it sits in your discard pile face up on the top, and so long as it's sitting there face up, it'll say passive +2 defense, for example. Then you'd be able to subtract some defense away from the attack of the enemy. I don't currently have that, so I have 0 defense, so it's coming at me for 2. -0 defense is 2 wounds straight through. So the 2 wounds that I healed away basically went right back on me again and brought me right back up to 5. The final thing it's going to do is retreat +2, meaning it will take its movement value, which is 2, add 2 to it, and try to get as far away from me as possible. Now looking at the arena, for it to use up to 4 movement to get as far away as possible, it's not going to move around me. It's going to be moving in a way to get further away from me. It's going to use as much of it as it can, and it's also worth mentioning it cannot move into any fallen tree space, which are these black areas right here, so it cannot move into here, but it could move to here. So it's going to go ahead and use 3 of its movement to get all the way to that back bottom right area. That'll do it for the enemy creature's turn. We've resolved this card, so we simply go ahead, flip it over to the opposite side. It sits in its slot number 1. You'll see when we eventually go ahead and fill slot 2, after we've resolved the card, we're going to go to the special ability of the enemy, and we're going to take a wonderful hit of some type. We'll find out what it is later on. This one's a little bit more aggressive. Previous creatures that I actually went up against were around a 3 or 4 before their special ability triggered. This one's triggering a little more often, which is unfortunate. As we head to the next player phase, it's always a good idea to take a look at the enemy deck to see what the enemy's going to be doing next. It says that it's going to be placing a puddle token in a space furthest from the opponent, so furthest from me, which currently right now would be over here, as it can't go here. And when it's here, then this enemy would blink to this space and heal 2. So now we know exactly what's going to be happening, but again, it all depends on where I end up. So as of right now, this would be the space, but if I move that might change. So all of this is part of the strategy. You get to see what the enemy will do and try to strategize as to how you can actually either use that to your advantage or potentially do something else worthwhile in the meantime. It's a tough choice in terms of movement. I actually might stay put because I kind of like this thing jumping over here and not being that far away from me. At this point in time, it'd be equal distance regardless of which side it's on. I'm looking over here at strike because I could gain an additional one on top of the 3, which would give me 4, which is huge, building me up towards another special ability attack to get some healing, which would be massive. The other option I have is to do Swift Recovery. This is an upgrade card that if I choose this, I get 2 energy. This card goes underneath of my Iceland creature card, and then anytime I heal in the future, I heal an additional 1. So it's like a benefit that keeps on stacking. I'm going to choose to take the upgrade. I really think this is going to be handy. We gained ourselves 2 energy as well. We slide the cards down to the right, drop the next card, and I'm going to end off my player turn right here. When resolving this next AI card, it's worth mentioning there's times where you have to make a decision because things are maybe equal distance. It's up to the player to decide. You can choose strategically. So in this case, I could literally leave the individual right where it is. It's still 4 away, regardless of whether it's 4 away over here. I could choose whichever side of the arena I want, but there's no real benefit either way. So I'll just leave the creature where it currently is. Basically, the puddle token is going to end up in its space, and it's going to heal too. Now at this point, we've gone ahead and resolved this card. This card now gets placed into slot number 2, and at this point, we check to see, is there a token here? There is. This means we're going to resolve the special ability. This special ability states the opponent discards 1 energy for each puddle in range 2 from them. Thankfully, we don't have any 2 away, but now we know what these puddles are going to do to us when the special ability triggers in the future. And then it says, for each energy discarded in this way, the opponent gains 1 wound. So now what happens when we're done resolving the special ability is we have 2 cards that meet up to that bead where the special ability triggers. So these 2 cards go into the enemy discard pile over here. They're going to be taken away. Now, so long at this point as you still have an enemy card deck to draw from, you're not going to do any reshuffling. But let's say hypothetically that this thing was completely empty. We would go ahead and reshuffle it and create another deck. When we do this, we would add a fatigue card. You've seen those fatigue cards onto the discard pile of my creature. And that's where over time, if the battle's going on too long, those fatigue cards will really start to creep in and basically gum up your action row. Going into this player turn, I'm going to go after strike here. This is going to give me 3 energy into my pile for a total of 6, which is nice. And then it also allows me to attack. I'm going to choose to attack the fallen tree, as it mentions here, when the fallen tree gets at least 1 damage or 1 wound on it, which it would because it has no defense, then that tree is removed from the game. Now the strike card also says after the attack is made and the tree is taken out, in this case, I also gain an additional energy. So we have an additional 1 coming in here, so we have a whole bunch to work with. I'm now going to go ahead and spend 1 energy in order to move my creature 1 space closer. The enemy is now going to go next. It's going to be doing a rush, so it's going to move 2 spaces. And it certainly doesn't need to make use of the next rush as well. It's going to attack ignoring shield, so it's going to hit me for a total of 2. After it places 2 damage on me, it retreats back to the space where the puddle is. For my player turn, I'm going to use 1 of the energy that I have here in order to move 1. So we're placing that discarded, moving 1 closer. This is getting me within range 2, and I'm eyeing Sap Warmth. It says deal 2 wounds in range 2. If you deal any wounds, then you heal 2, and you get a passive defensive 2 as well, plus all of the energy I gain. So first off, we gain the energy. We got our energy. We also deal 2 wounds within range 2, so it goes straight through to the enemy past the defense, and then we get to heal 2 as well. We get an additional heal over here, so that's really nice, dropping us from a total of 7 down to 4. Now when you choose a card from an action slot and it goes to the discard, if it has a passive mention on it, you get that passive so long as it's on the top of the discard pile. So we have a passive +2 defense right now. We're going to go ahead and fill out the row. The rest of these cards slide on down. It's been pretty nice. So far, the cards I wanted to use have been at the end of the row, but that will probably change. We've got some defensive stuff in here at the lower levels. Frostbite is the new one. I'm going to choose to do a bonus action. I'm going to spend 4 of my energy here in order to do a move 1, heal 1, and when I heal 1, I get to heal an additional 1 thanks to Swift Recovery. So that's 2 coming off here, and we're moving our creature forward closer to the enemy. Now looking at the next enemy card here, it states Rush Rush. It's not going to be rushing. It's right beside me, ready to go. It's going to attack, but it's going to ignore all shields, even the passive ones that I have. I knew this was going to happen, but wanted to show you how passive would work. Of course, not great in this situation. It's going to be an attack straight through for 2 damage coming onto my character for a total of 4. And in terms of retreating, there won't be any retreating as it cannot retreat any further away from where it currently is. So we're going to go ahead and take this card, place it over here. When we do, we're going to trigger the special ability. This is where something nasty will happen because I got a little bit close to that puddle. It says the opponent discards 1 energy for each puddle in range 2 from them. So as we have 1 puddle within range, we do discard 1 energy. So we get 1 wound going on for a total of 5. That'll do it for the enemies. It's back to my turn. And the good news is I'm right beside this thing. Now, the interesting thing I'm trying to decide between right now is whether I attack with my special ability by choosing the push card to get 3 energy, which would give me 6 to do this, which does give me an attack and a heal, which I could certainly make use of. And it would be a big heal too, because it'd end up being a heal 3, which is massive. Or I can go with this one, which is an attack and it immobilizes the individual, plus gives me a passive on defense. That's actually really good. Now, looking at what this enemy is going to do next, it's going to be doing something I don't believe it's done yet, putting a puddle in range 1 from the opponent and then attacking and then retreating. So actually it might make sense to do the freeze lock. So we'll use freeze lock. We get 2 energy, which I've placed in here. We get to attack right now. We have a 4 and it's going up against 1 defense. So it's going to be 3 going on to it. Not bad at all. We got ourselves 7 total damage. We're also putting an immobilized token on this thing. So if it tries to do anything like retreating or any kind of movement or rushing, it's going to be stopped by that immobilized token. Freeze lock is also going to sit inside our discard on the very top, which means the passive +2 defense is there, which is great, knowing that we have an attack coming our way in the future that'll help us out. And we got ourselves shoot forward. This one is a great move card. So resolving this card here, we're placing a puddle in range 1 from the opponent, and unfortunately it can even go in the space that my creature is in, which it did, and then it's going to attack me. It's going to attack me for a total of 2, but I have a passive 2 defense, and this one is not going to be ignoring shields, which is great, so my defense actually stops it, so we don't have any kind of damage coming through whatsoever, and then it's going to retreat, and again, it's stuck in the corner. Now, even though it's stuck in the corner, anytime it tries to retreat or move or do any kind of rush, then that immobilized token comes off. Now, after placing that card into slot number 1, we have no more cards left for the enemy deck. So at this point, we shuffle up the enemy discard pile and we're placing 1 fatigue card on the top of my discard pile. I'm going to go ahead and use the Frostbite card here. We're going to gain 2 energy, which I'll add into the fray, giving me a total of 7. It says you can discard 2 energy right now to resolve another card, but I don't think I'll do that because I want to use my special ability, being that I'm right beside the enemy. The passive here says your attack ignores all defense, and it has 1 defense by default, so that's a nice one to actually have because that means all of my attack is getting through. So we're going to go ahead right now. We're going to replenish the row, and then we're going to do the special ability here. This is going to be a total of 6 going through, and that is, or 6 I should say, to spend. We're going to be attacking, which is going to be at a value of 4. There's no defense on this whatsoever, so 4 straight through. So that damage really does help. We're up to a total of 11, which is getting us close to that very first thing we need to do, which is tire it out, getting at least 15 wounds on it. We also get to heal. We get to heal 2 plus the 1 from Swift Recovery, so 3 health coming off of this, which is awesome. The last thing the creature will do is try to retreat, but it will not because the fallen tree is here. If this fallen tree was not here, it would actually use its retreat to try and get up to here, which would be as far away as it could be before it tried to attempt to go here, which would be no further away, so it would stop right here. But because there's a fallen tree here and no one can enter this space at this moment, it will not move through because moving to another space adjacent to me is not moving further away, so it is stuck where it is. But that's not going to stop it from using its special ability in a positive way for itself. So a second card goes here. It says the opponent discards 1 energy or elemental marker for each puddle in range 2 from them. So we currently have 2 now, which means we're going to be removing all the energy we have. And it says for each of the energy we have discarded, we only have 1. So that's all we have to discard. We get a wound for however many we discarded. We would have discarded 2 if we had it and gotten 2 wounds, but we only had 1 to get rid of. So we just got 1 wound. Now we did get another triangle here, and that's been really beneficial for us because it's keeping this individual creature stuck in the corner based on the current layout of things. If it happens to get this symbol right here, which is in this deck, it's going to go ahead and blink to another side of the board, which will be very, very far away from me. So we want to try to hit this thing as much as we can while we have the opportunity, and it's kind of trapped in this corner, which is nice. So what do we want to do? I think we should go for it. We're going to go ahead and use Blind Fury here to attack, which means we're attacking at a 4. Minus the 1 is 3 damage going on, which is not going to be enough. It's 1 away from being able to tire it out. And again, in order to knock it out completely, we got to get to 20 if we want to just straight up defeat it. But I'd like to try and tame it. We're trying to get to 15. But this card says you may gain 2 wounds to attack again. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. I'm going to actually wound myself to do this. Attacking for 4, minus 1 defense, 3 more on there. I also gained the 1 energy as well. We've got now a total of 17 on here. We'll talk about this card up here in a second, but first we need to replenish this. You'll see we have no more player deck at this point. We simply reshuffle this discard deck and create a new player deck and draw a card up. We ended up with a strike card. Again, in order to try and tame it, we need to go through these one at a time, top to bottom. We've done the very top one. It has at least 15 wounds on it. We're now working towards crackling with energy. We need to end our turn with at least 8 energy. Heading over to the enemy's turn. Again, a rush, not happening. Attacking is happening. It's going to go straight through. So 2 straight through to me is another 2 damage. We are getting up there. What do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to have to focus on some serious healing here as it's starting to really accumulate. It's going to try and retreat again. It is trapped in that corner. And it appears it's going to be trapped again going into the next turn, which is great. I was actually thinking about heading in here and taking out the fallen tree because we're going to need to take those trees out in order to show off at the last step. We need to have all 3 of them gone. So we're going to have to make our way to the side of the board at some point anyway over here if we want to try and tame this thing. But if I take out this tree right now, it gives this creature a way to finally retreat away from me. Not too far away, actually. So it may not actually be that bad of an idea now that I think about it. Because if I move to here, it can't still retreat anywhere that's further away. I still kind of got it caught in that corner. So let's go ahead and actually do that. Let's go ahead and spend 1 energy here. We're going to move into the center area right here. I'm now going to go ahead and choose to do a strike, which is going to give me 1 energy back here. We do the attack against the fallen tree. This tree is now gone, which is great news. And we also gain an additional energy here too. So we're up to 2 total there. This will go in the discard pile, and we're going to go ahead and draw up a new card. All right, we head back up to the enemy activation. Again, it's going to be a rush. Rush is already beside me. It's going to attack me, which is not good. It's going to be 2 more damage coming at me. Now my creature has a total of 11 damage on it, yikes. And we're going to go ahead and resolve and retreat, which is, in this situation, not going to happen because, again, it cannot retreat anywhere further away. So this card is going to flip over to the second slot, which is going to trigger the special ability, and you can see it's finally going to try and get away from you out of that corner at this point. And it says here, again, we're going to be discarding energy based on the tokens around me. We have 2, so unfortunately both of these get discarded, and that's 2 more wounds. This is not looking good. We are up to 13. I'm going to go ahead and use Sap Warmth here. We get to deal 2 wounds in range 2. If we deal wounds, which we do, then we're going to be able to heal 2, which ends up being healing of 3. And I need this big time. It'll give me a passive as well, which is nice. So we're going to go ahead and place 2 more damage on it, just so you understand. Right now, we are 1 away from knocking it out completely. But I've got a plan because I know roughly what this thing is going to be doing next. We're going to be healing 3, so that gets us really much off the doorstep of death that we were currently on. We're going to replenish the card here. We're also not going to forget to grab the 1 energy we get for taking this slot card. And immediately I'm going to go ahead and spend that energy to get on the move here. I don't really want to be in this corner anymore. I want to try to get away from these puddles. So the card I was talking about finally came up. This one's going to place a puddle in the space furthest away from the opponent. So space furthest away is going to be all the way over here. This is the furthest space away from me, so it's going to land right here. And then the actual enemy is going to blink to that space and heal 2. Now, I have to admit, I got quite a bit lucky there because that specific card got put to the bottom of the deck when things were shuffled up, so that allowed me to kind of trap this thing in the corner and do quite a bit of damage to it without it hopping away. But you can see this thing can bounce around. That can cause some problems if you don't have a lot of movement. And as we no longer have an enemy deck, we need to shuffle the discard pile and place another fatigue card on top of my discard pile. We're all squared away, not overly happy about the extra fatigue card in there, but we got to deal with it. There is one hiding in here at some point. It's going to come out into the row. So we now go into the next player turn, and my job here is to try to pump up my energy or my elemental markers, which are these orange things. I need to end my turn with 8 of them. So I selected push. I chose not to resolve anything on the card itself, but I just got the 3 actual markers, which I'm looking to accumulate. We'll go ahead and push things down the row and draw an additional card out to see what we get. Energy flow, that is one we need to see right now. Now I'm going to choose to go ahead and spend one of my energy in order to move. I want to get as far away from these as possible, as I don't want to be hit by the special ability. So we'll move like so. We're going from here to here. For the enemy turn here, it says to put a puddle in range 1 from the opponent. So range 1 would be any one of these 3 spaces right here. And then this thing is going to attack, but it doesn't have range to attack me, so it's not going to be able to do that. It's going to retreat, and at this point, it is already as far back against the wall as it could possibly be. And we go ahead and trigger the ability, which is going to hit me. We have to discard 1 energy, thanks to the 1 token within range 2. Thank goodness I got away from these other ones. That would have been really bad. So we get 1 wound. Well, to try to accumulate more of these energy tokens, let's go ahead and take the defensive stance here. I think that might be a good idea. This is going to give us 3 plus 1 off the card is a total of 4. Pretty happy with that for a total of 5 overall. And then we get that passive defense. We'll put that in this slot right here. Everything else moving down. This is a good one to have moving down the energy flow. And again, remember, we have the ability to potentially use a bonus action to discard a card and draw a card. So if I want to push this energy flow further down the row, I can essentially pain energy right now from here to discard one of these cards, and I'm actually half tempted to do that. I might actually discard this one right here. So let's pay 1 energy. We're going to discard Frostbite here, and that's going to force these ones down the row and the drawing of another card. Now, the only downside to that is it's going to be discarding, or I should say sitting on top of my defensive ability that was over here. So that isn't exactly the best. And knowing that this thing's going to rush twice, that was actually a pretty poor choice. I'm going to play it as it stands, but it's worth mentioning that you should, in most situations, choose to discard the Frostbite first, and then go ahead and pick the slot with a defensive stance inside of it, so that you get that on the very top of your discard pile, so you get that actual defense. So we're going to play it as it is. So the creature is now going to activate. It's going to rush. At this point, it definitely can. So it's going to move 2 towards me. And then it's going to rush again, which is going to make it all the way to me. And then it's going to go ahead and ignore any defense we have. And it's going to attack for 2, which is unfortunate. So let's bring us up to a total of 13, which is getting dangerously close. And then it's going to retreat. So it's actually going to be able to use its retreat now. So it's going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to literally put itself right back to where it was. So as you can tell, when you're trying to tame something, it's a bit more challenging than just straight up trying to take down that particular creature. We likely could have taken this thing down quite a ways back, but I'm pushing super hard to try and capture this thing. You can see I'm getting dangerously close. We're going to continue trying to tame this thing. We want to get up to 8 energy. Well, one way to do it is to activate energy flow here, which would give me 2, 3, 4, 5, which I'm going to do. So we're going to take this one, giving us 5 energy, which is awesome. So I've gone ahead and placed the energy here. We've got a total of 9 now. We've moved cards down the row. We're drawing the next card off the top, and it's still our turn. We still have a fatigue card in here. There it is. It was the last card in the deck, and it's finally in here. You can see you can remove this card from play. So we could go ahead and discard a card by paying an energy in order to get rid of this, or we could actually just go ahead and activate it to get rid of it and take the energy. So we have choices there. In terms of this, I have 1 more energy I could spend because I got to keep at least 8 in order to satisfy the condition way up here. So what I'm going to do is use the 1 in order to just do some movement. We're going to move 1 space closer. And I just realized that if I do not pay the 4 energy to move 1 and heal right now, when this thing activates next, it's going to run up to me, it's going to hit me, it's going to retreat, so it's going to hit me for 2, then the card's going to flip over here, and this special ability is going to hit me because I'm still close to this right here, and that's going to be enough to knock me out. We can't have that happen, so we're going to spend 4 energy, even though I don't want to, in order to do a move and a heal. So we're going to move a little bit closer. We're kind of getting away from this as well, which is nice. We're healing for 1, but we get an additional 1, so at least it knocks 2 off and gets us off of death's door in terms of a knockout, but that stops us from being able to check off this box up here, which is kind of brutal. So we know the enemy is going to go ahead and do his triangle, which is going to be rush, rush. It's going to get himself right up to me. It's going to hit me for 2, which just brings back the exact same 2 damage I just healed off. Then it's going to go ahead and retreat. It's going to bounce back here. Now, can it get further away? Not really. In any direction here, it's going to be the same distance. So we'll just pop it back here to this location. Although I do technically have a choice as to where I put it. I'm going to go ahead. Well, I don't know. It would make sense in this case to retreat it somewhere that's not near this. That would be a benefit. So maybe I will move it down to this location right here. I don't think it's going to matter too much because we still need to make it over here. So this is going to still impact us. We'll place it there for now. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the card from the top here, place it over here, triggering the special ability. And we are thankfully no longer in range, so we don't have to lose any energy. We don't have to take any wounds for it. As much as I want to try and tame this creature, I really think that I might be putting myself in a bad situation here. The AI cards are constantly playing a cat and mouse game with me in terms of my energy, getting up to 8 and having at least 8 held onto, while also trying to mitigate the fact my wounds that I'm taking on each of these AI cards is getting up there. And of course, the more of these puddles that show up, the worse chances I have to do this. I need, just so you understand, in order to tame this thing, I need to have 8 energy at the end of my turn, and then after that I have to deal at least 1 wound to this creature when all the fallen trees have already been removed from the arena. So I have to not only take out this tree here, but then also attack this. So I'm going to be going through at least 3 turns, unless I've got some cool combinations to make that 2. But essentially, from what I can see here, I need to go ahead, get 8 energy, end a turn, then go ahead and try and take out the tree, and then go ahead and try to wound this individual. And all of that is going to put me in a situation where I could potentially get knocked out, and I don't want that to happen. So I think I'm going to change my focus now to trying to take this thing down. So I'm going to choose to use shoot forward for that action slot, and it's going to give me 3 energy, which is nice. I get to move, which is great. So I'm going to move myself, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's go all the way over here, and we're going to go ahead and move this card off to the side. We'll shuffle things down. At this point, we'd be going ahead and shuffling our deck and replacing it and pulling something out here, but we're going to be able to take this thing down right now because I'm going to go ahead and use 6 right here in order to do a cold drain attack. If this attack deals damage, which it absolutely will, it's going to be 4, and it's going to be minus the 1, so it's going to be 3. That is going to bring this thing up to a total of 20, taking it down, which is perfect, and I also get to heal 3 myself. So we take these 3 away. So as much as I really wanted to tame this thing and take it for my own, as I was able to do that with a prior creature that I ran into inside of scenario book number 1, this second one here I ran into proved to be quite a bit tougher, even with the advantage of being able to stick it in that corner for as long as I did. Like I said, had a window to pull that off, and things just didn't pan out the way I hoped they would. So when combat comes to a close, we simply go ahead and flip this over to the opposite side to see what's on the back. It tells us if we tame the enemy, go to a certain script. We did not do that, but if we won, we go to script 15, which we did. The Furple backs off, retreating into its nest. You stop your companion, waiting for a good moment to leave, and continue your return to Kerberg. The Furple approaches again, and you get tense. Fortunately, it brings some treasures it has gathered and gives them to you, so you'll leave it alone. As you saw moments ago, we're told to place the specific card into slot 25 here on page 3 of the creature study. At this point, we're told to clear the arena. Very simple. We just clear up all the tokens and all the miniatures out of the way. In terms of the cards along the bottom here, you're just going to put them all together and place them back in the card box again, the black box I have up in the top right. I do have my wounds. You keep wounds after a battle, but all the energy that you accumulated does get discarded. You might accumulate energy again along your journey when you're doing your adventure and exploration portion of the game, but after combat, the energy is taken away. Besides that, everything else has its place. The arena goes back behind dividers. The enemy cards that were not told to be slotted inside of any kind of binder go back behind dividers or card dividers inside the tray. So everything's very easy to just place right back. The next thing it tells us to do is to go ahead and gain 3 items, which I've gone ahead and drawn off the top of the deck, and that actually depletes my item deck, so I now need to reshuffle it in order to start it fresh and anew. Also worth mentioning, I have 1 fatigue card in my deck with my current creature as well as a result of that battle. Out of the 3 item cards I was told to gain, you can't have more than 4, so I discarded ones which I already had here, and actually some of the ones I pulled were duplicates, so it worked out pretty good. I'm taking the juicy berries and adding it to the other things I have here. Worth mentioning, I do have a rope, which comes in handy for checks, herbs for checks, and these 2 here for combat. From afar, you can see that Kerberg suffered severely from the quake. The walls surrounding the city crumbled in many places. You hear shouts and freeze for a moment, but quickly sigh with relief. Those are not cries of pain, but the loud calls of people organizing themselves to help each other. You enter the city through a damaged gate and are greeted by the sight of people with makeshift stretchers carrying the wounded. Many buildings are damaged, some even leveled. At first glance, the city is in ruin. At second, it's still bad, but you can see that it's possible to rebuild it, although not without extreme effort. At this point, it's telling us to open a booster. You can now add or replace cards in your creature decks with matching element action cards from the booster. I've gone ahead and opened up the only booster inside of the prototype. We got ourselves a handful of cards here I'll go through to show you what is inside. The artwork on these cards look awesome, and there's quite the surprise at the very end as well. A very cool looking holographic card. Now, I won't be including this holographic card inside of this play in this video, but it's worth mentioning how awesome this card really is. You can see the top line says discard all cards from the enemy slot. So really what this is doing is mitigating and controlling the potential for the enemy to get its special ability just on its own by default. Now, the second part of this says if this card is in the third slot of your action slots, then you get to deal a wound to the chosen enemy for each enemy card discarded this way. So this can become a very, very powerful card if you can make both things happen at the same time. And now that we pulled this one from a pack, I want to talk about the two that came separately as part of the prototype unboxing if you saw that. Here are the other two up close if you want to read the descriptions on them. Also very powerful cards indeed. Now, as you likely saw when I opened up the booster, you saw an elemental symbol in the top left of every single one of those cards. For my creature, the Iceling, the card that I'm really looking to get in my deck is this one here called Dive. It's awesome. It says you can blink to any space, attack, and you get a passive defense bonus as well. This is a crazy card and is much better than this strike that gives me 1 energy or 1 elemental marker, which is nice, and also an attack, but this is way, way more useful. Deck construction is complete after opening the booster. For the Iceling, let's talk about the other creature that I have here. You haven't actually seen this creature's deck yet, but it is worth mentioning you'll see an elemental max here of 5 inside this deck. I'll show you everything else about this creature, the special ability. We've got ourselves additional cards here with more information. This is unavailable in the demo. We basically have kind of like a quest that you have for both these creatures, which again isn't part of this prototype, but will be in the final version. Elemental cards, we got 3 of them here specific to this creature, taking up 3 of those 5 slots. And we've got 2 slots available for more, but as of right now, we have a whole bunch of neutral cards, very similar to what the Iceling had when it started out. These cards are very similar. Some of them are a bit different as well. Well, we can swap one of these out if we wish for one of the cards we got in the booster that is an elemental that matches, and that is the Stone Skin. So I'm going to take this Leap card out of the equation as a neutral card and add this one in. It gains me an energy and has a passive of 5 defense, which is pretty awesome. It tells us to go ahead and open up map 03, so here it is right here, and it tells us if we don't have secret card 03, which is Helping Hand, we place token B in slot 1. So we take B, we place it inside of slot number 1. That's going to have an impact that we do not have that secret card. Now it says if you have secret card 5, which is Local Hero, and we actually do. I'm going through the secrets that I do have here. I've got 102, I've got 5, 8, 11, and 17. So 5 is what it's asking for. We'll go ahead and flip it over. That's this one right here. It tells us we have repaired a malfunctioning machine yesterday, so we go to script 28. The sight of the ruined city brings tears to your eyes. Many machines are broken, but you notice the one you helped repair yesterday is still operating somehow. Several people walk through the streets, their gaze wandering around in disbelief. You approach a man with a twisted ankle and support him. "The creatures are gone, Tamer," he says, staring into your eyes. "You disappeared yesterday. You should have been here." You don't answer, but help the man arrive at the makeshift infirmary and ask a nurse about the situation in the city. Everything suggests the creatures escaped. The rangers already pursued them and asked to pass a message on to you. Go after them as soon as possible. I also have a request. Help the people of Kirberg first. With your companions, you could do more than most of us. At this point, we're supposed to discard Secret 1, or I should say discard Secret 05, which is Local Hero. So the card you're seeing on screen will be discarded. We gain Secret Card 25. And this is a perfect example of getting a secret card, which is going to be an overlay that's going to change the environment you're exploring and adventuring inside of. So this is going to sit over top of what this used to be. Before the tavern was flooded, innkeepers had managed to build a makeshift dam. The cellar is flooded, but the building is intact. You wonder how dire the situation would have been if you hadn't repaired the machine yesterday. To help the city, try to gather tokens in slots 3. Some of the machines need repairs. 4, people in the Lazart need aid. And 5, check if there are no people in immediate danger. At this point, we begin exploration. Now, one thing I just caught as a mistake, which I didn't do in the previous script, which is to place in the event slot one of the secrets 24, and that's going to be right here at the end of the track. And it's also worth mentioning we're going to be setting the time marker to 1. I'm going to interact with this one right here, which is 47. It states in the journal, the jagged ruins are a sad reminder of Hazel's shop. Once full stocked and bustling with trade, if her shop looks like this, she must be in the infirmary. We get to choose one thing here. We can search the rubble, or we can follow Hazel's hints. It requires a token A in slot 2, which we currently don't have there, so we can't do that. So let's go ahead and search the rubble, or we could choose to leave this area. The script ends and we could choose something else. I'm going to search the rubble. So doing a little searching brings us to our very first check within the game. You get to see a results table here. We'll talk about that in a second. We perform the test, check the result below. For each pair of moon icons we get at the end of the test, when we're pulling item cards to find numerical values towards the test, then we're going to be increasing time for every 2 moon icons we get, every pair of them. So we can try to mitigate that with cards and items and everything else. But really what we're gunning for here is taking a look at this results table, looking at the very end and trying to gun for the best result. The best result is going to be in the center. So 6 and 7 are the best results, 7 being the absolute best. 5 or less is going to be, some time spent, not much gotten out of. In terms of 8 or more, you're going to be spending a lot of time and getting very little as well. So we're really aiming for a 7 here if we can pull it off. So the first thing we do to start a check, very easy. We pull from the top of the item deck. And it's going to tell us in the top left-hand corner what our value is. We got ourselves a 1 to start off. If we stop right here, we can be happy with gaining an item and ending the script right there. But that's where the push your luck element comes in, to try to push yourself up to a higher result level. You'll also see we got ourselves a moon here. Now, I do have items I could use to potentially mitigate things if I didn't like the fact that was going to potentially, with a pair of moons, eventually bump up my time. I could start using items in my inventory. It says during a check, discard a card you just drew. So I could actually, during this check, burn this card away as if it was a problem. Or maybe later on when I'm trying to get up to 6 or 7, if it pushes me over to 8 or more, I use this herb in order to kind of bring it back down and calm myself. And then the rope is pretty cool. I have another one during a check. You can add or subtract to from your check to kind of get you there or pull you back a little bit. So that's kind of cool. So we'll go ahead and keep pushing our luck here with items. We're not using these 2 yet. They're just there. I want to let you know they exist. Next one here, we got a 3. That is a clean 3. That's a good one to get. You know why that's a good one to get? Because 3 and 1 is 4 with 1 moon. And if we go ahead and just use the rope to add 2, which is what I'm going to do, that is going to be a clean 6. We don't really have to push any harder here, and we don't have to increase time much either. We get this. Now the question is, I would love to get 7. So what do I want to do here is we've currently got 6 right now. If we push our luck one more time and we happen to get a 1, we've nailed the best result. If we get anything more than a 1, I can use my herbs to get rid of it. And we can kind of go back to 6. So let's go ahead and push and see what happens here. Oh, we got ourselves a 2. Okay, so the interesting thing here is this can be used to discard to add 2 to a check or to subtract 2. So as of right now, we got 3, 4, 5, 6. So adding 2 would actually get us to 8 or more, which is not what we want to see. So the question really is, do we want to discard this and pull another one? Maybe. So I'm going to use the herbs right now. This is a little bit of a wild idea. We're actually discarding the herbs. We haven't chosen to use the rope just yet. And this is going to get tossed. We're going to pull another card off the top and see what we get. We've got a 4. That's really aggressive. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if we minus 2, we're back to a 6. So basically, we'll just stay there. I think we pushed our luck too far. We didn't really get much more out of it, but we're going to discard both these items as I tried my best to get up to 7, but I couldn't do it. We're going to stick at 6. A 6 result allows me to take an item or a silver. I'm going to go with a silver. That's going to give me a total of 3 of those. And finally, to wrap up that script, it told us to go ahead and knock the time track down by 1. So we go ahead and move this marker to the secret card. At this point, we do not turn this card over yet. It tells us in the rule book that the next time it states this script ends, we're going to go ahead and flip that card over. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty interested to head into the tavern here at 22. The owners of the Shaded Tavern moved to the library with their supplies to help the people seeking shelter in the bigger and more stable building. The tavern is left under the supervision of the innkeeper's sons, twins boasting large mustaches. The tavern is almost empty. People aren't keen on sitting in partially flooded places. Only a few souls sit in the dark corners whispering about the earthquake. You also spot Ida, a nasty bruise on her forehead. She wanders between tables, spinning her tail to keep up the morale of the survivors. She seems calm and composed, but you notice that she keeps glancing through the window. You can choose to speak with Ida, speak with the twins, rest for a while, or leave. I'm choosing to speak with Ida, and it states, "Have you seen the sky?" she whispers to you anxiously as you approach. "It's so dark." "It's a cloudy day," you try to reassure her. "Still, it's much darker than it should be," she says. "There are bad things happening here, ominous things. Have you seen the shadow?" "What shadow?" You avoid answering. You don't want to scare her anymore. "I'm not sure. I saw a gigantic shadow passing over the city." At this point, it's telling you in the book to place a win token in front of you. You know how to fight against an elk thorn. And we're also going to increase time as time's slipping away by 1. So we gained ourselves this token right here. It also says the script ends, which means we now can go ahead and flip over this secret card, find out what's on the opposite side. And it states, it should be dawn by now, but it's still dark. Go to script 3. You wish you knew what time it was. You look at the sky and try to see through the blanket of heavy clouds. It is probably too dark for this time of day. 2 people interrupt your thoughts as they run toward you. Their sudden appearance makes you realize that in addition to the clouds, the sky is also shrouded by smoke. "The library is in flames," one of the people shouts. "The fire spread from the ruins of Hazel's shop," the other person utters. "The library is more important, but there must be people helping already. The fire in the ruins is probably spreading, but is also less dangerous." At this point, we discard secret card 24, which is the card we just drew and flipped over. We place secret card 26 face down in the event slot and set the time marker to 4. Your time in the city is limited. We're also told in the adventure journal to gain secret cards 28 and 29. And as you can see, these overlay cards are on the map, and you'll see Hazel's shop is engulfed in flames, and also there's been a change down here as well. Now we're told we need to make a decision right now. We can help the people by the library, or we can fight the fire at the ruins of Hazel's shop. This is actually a really tough decision, but based on how bad it looks up at Hazel's shop, we're going to go over there and try to help out as much as we can. We're told we need to perform a test for this. It says for each of the moon icons at the end of the test, we're going to gain a wound. If we have a fire creature, you ignore it completely. We do not, so that is not going to be good. All right, let's go ahead and draw a card off the top here. The very first one is going to be 3. Hey, there's no moon symbol. That's a nice plus. Now, do I have anything that can mitigate anything on item cards? No, I do not anymore. So here we go with more of these pulls to see. Now, again, I can always stop early, but I'd like to get a 7 or 8 to be successful at this. There's another 3. That's nice to see. Okay, can we get a low one? Even if we get a moon, that's okay. I think for each of these, well, I guess we would still get a wound. Let's see how we go. There we go. We got it. We got a 7. That's pretty safe. I'm going to stop right here. Pretty happy with this result. This is going to have us take a wound, so I'll take that marker, placing it on my creature. And at this point, we're going to also knock time down by 1 to the 3rd spot on the track. Several people are here fighting this slowly spreading fire. The fire started in a warehouse, and the flames now lick several surrounding buildings, most of which are already ruined. This area took a heavy hit from the quake, it seems. Along with your creatures and the people, you quenched the fire, preventing it from spreading even farther. Too bad that the library was partially burned while you were occupied with this fire. At this point, we discard secret card 28 and the script ends. Let's now head over to the library here at 92 and see what we run into. It says the library walls are slightly charred, but fortunately the inside of the building is untouched by the flames. The bad news is that a few of those who fought the fire were burnt, and some of the gathered goods turned to ash. The morale is low, and almost no one is in a mood to talk. We can either speak with Slade, or we can buy some universal equipment. I'm choosing to talk to Slade. Not sure if this is going to result in anything positive, though, but inside this next script, it tells us if there's a token A or B in slot 3, then we go to certain scripts. I have neither A or B in slot 3, so we just continue with the otherwise. The otherwise states, "Everything is wrong." "Ugh," Slade exclaims. "People take my books and make seats out of them. The water has stopped flowing. The innkeeper and her husband make a ruckus with their kettles." You can't fail to notice that he omits the topic of the earthquake and that he brews herbal tea for the people as he nags about them. Where are the engineers when we need them? Someone should do something about the water system. I can't live like a tramp. At this point, we just progress time and the script ends. Now, there's a handful of other areas I could check out here. We have a med tent over here. We also have a different area over here. We have a tower over here. I'm kind of tempted to head here as we got a token we could potentially mean something. So let's go to 31. The tent covers as a field hospital. All those who have been injured in the earthquake are brought here and received by good-hearted volunteers. If a token A is in slot 1, you go to one script. Token B is in slot 1, you go to a different one. We've got B, so we're going to 34. It states there are many injured people in the hospital, tended by a few hard-working nurses. You recognize familiar faces among the patients. Alvin and Hazel both seem to be sleeping or unconscious. Luminesca, the boy's creature, is sitting at the foot of his bed. You also spot Olin in the corner, busy preparing potions. The recent events have taken a heavy toll on him. We can choose to speak with Olin, we can choose to heal our creatures, we can choose to help the wounded, or we can leave. Is to speak with Olin. So why don't we go ahead and do that and just see what else happens. So that's going to be on page 38, which I'm flipping to right now. The earthquake destroyed my workshop and none of my concoctions have survived. Olin confesses, I am hastily trying to cook up some more, but it's not that easy. What's worse, most of the creatures have fled too, and a few of them possessed healing powers. We are left with what we have, and that is not a lot. We can choose one. We can let your creature help. It requires a water creature, which I have. The water creature gains 1 fatigue, and then you go to script 20, or you give him the potion you found. It requires secret card 2, which is healing extract. I don't have that. And then you go to script 43, or we could just choose to leave. So do we help him with the creature that we have? We can't give him a potion, or do we leave? We really have two options here. I'm going to choose to help him, and hopefully it works out for us. It says the iceling aids the nurses with fresh cold water as they change bandages, clean wounds, and rarely reduce patients' rising temperatures. At this point, we drop our time down by 1, and we place in a token in slot 4. The lazarette has less work thanks to you, and this script ends. So we'll place an A token down here in 4, and we also subtract 1 off the time as well. Now, I know what else is available inside of the Med 10, interested in it, but let's also check out 12 over here too. 12 tells us if any token is in slot 3, and I'm just taking a look here, I don't believe there's any token, then you go ahead and the script just ends. Otherwise, you read on. So we're going to go ahead and read on right now. It says, no hope, the engineer says. I can't fix it. Any minute now, the machinery will run wild. We desperately need those water creatures to control the pressure. Without them, the pipes may burst. Is there anything I can do, you ask? The engineer ponders for a few moments. The only way to alleviate the situation is to fix the valve. I tried it alone, but without effect. It's rusted because of our negligence and our blind reliance on the creatures. Maybe together with you, well, no harm in trying. It says to choose one. We can try to fix the valve, we can try to scavenge surroundings, or we can leave. I'm going to try to fix the valve. Now this check has 2 things at the very top, neither of which I get because neither of these are true for me. So in this case, it says for each pair of the moon icons at the end of the test, we're going to be progressing time. We're going to be going ahead and trying to make this. I don't have anything I can do to mitigate things. We're just going to try to see if we're successful, and we're going to stop when things get a little too dangerous. So we got ourselves a 1, a clean 1 off the start. We got ourselves a 2, so that's 3, but we had the moon symbol there. We're going to continue on here. Can we get to 6 or 7? We got another clean 1, so that's 4. Come on, give me like a 2 or something. Oh my gosh, we were just inching our way up here. 3, 4, 5. Come on, 1 more. Don't go too far. 2, that's okay. That's going to actually put us at a 7, which is a great result. We do get a pair of the moons, so that is going to progress our time by 1. That'll place the time marker. I'm doing it right now, right on the secret card 26, but again, we don't resolve it until the next time. So we gained an item. We got ourselves a good one for combat. We'll place this with the rest of our inventory items. We currently have a total of 3, so we're not up to our max of 4 just yet. And then we go to script 4. The machinery screeches and grates, letting out occasional clouds of steam, but you sigh with relief when it begins to work properly after a moment of struggle. You place token A now in slot 3, which I'll do in a second. The machine operates properly, averting water to a widespread pipe malfunction. We're also going to increase time. The script ends, but we're on the final secret event right now, so we're going to go ahead and flip it over. You did what you could to help Carberg struck by the powerful quake, but it is time to find the missing creatures. The longer they are in the wilderness, the more likely they will be harmed by predators. Go to script 61. You can't tell how much time has passed since you started wandering around the city trying to help those in need. You are exhausted. You head toward the gate thinking about the missing creatures. You must find them. Discard secret card 26. It's the one that we just drew. We gain a fatigue and we go to script 62. It tells us if there is a token in each of the slots 3, 4, and 5 in the bottom right of the map, then we go to script 60. There is not. If there's at least 2 tokens in the slots 3, 4, and 5, then people meet you at the gate and thank you for your help. You gain 2 items and you go to script 65. The very first card I got was a leather pouch. You can use it immediately to gain a silver. And then the second one is this steel boots. It says during combat, when you move, you get to add some movement. It now tells me a token B is in slot 7. We go to script 60. Otherwise, we read on, which we'll do. If we have secret card 27, which is treasure, we use it immediately. I do not believe I have that. At this point, it tells me to discard the secret from the event slot if there is any, which I've done. We close the map up. We shuffle the discard into the item deck, which I've done, and we move to script 64. The first thing you see when you leave the city is a large arrow left on the ground, as you presume by the rangers. This time you won't have to track the creatures, fortunately. Following the rangers' markings, you arrive at their makeshift camp. It's not looking well. A wounded man, Harlan, lies on a stretcher and a bruised water creature curls up next to him. Another ranger approaches you. Her face is stern. The creatures are east of here, hidden in an old tree, but there's a problem. The area belongs to several predators. With them there, the creatures won't climb down, and we are in danger without your experience. You can see the result of an elk thorn ambushing us. You nod and consider your situation. 1, you must get rid of the predators. You can intimidate or defeat one of them. Should be enough to scare the others off as well. Or 2, you can calm down and escort the wind raisers to safety. It probably won't be easy. You've already seen how they behave when they are scared. You must hurry and not daddle. You go toward the glade indicated by the rangers. Now there's a hint here in the campaign book. It says tracks on the map may lead you to the predators' lairs. The adventure journal now tells us to open up to map 04, which you can see here on screen, and this is what we'll be diving into in the next video as we wrap up part number 1 right now for Dragon Eclipse from Awaken Realms. Really hope you're enjoying this playthrough. Hopefully this is helping you make an informed decision on the upcoming GameFound campaign in the very near future. Check out the pinned comment video description in order to find more information on the campaign page itself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one. Are you enjoying it? What things do you like and dislike? Love to hear that feedback in the comment section, and also be sure to join us on Discord as well as the Facebook group to discuss the game and other solo games like it even more. Thanks again, and as always, keep on rolling solo.